Hey guys, Jim here. I want to share with you now a fairly recent acquisition. Not a brand new acquisition because I have had this for a couple of months now, but I was kind of held up on doing this video, from my limited time. I've just had a lot of shit going on. As you guys see, I haven't uploaded the amount of content that I typically do. But the other thing was I had planned on getting as much information about the special blade process that this has from Tony Marfione, and when I discussed it with him at the show I saw him in November, he's like, yeah, sure, we'll discuss it, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I've been kind of going through Hank Greenberg. And so I don't know if it's just been Tony's too busy or because I'm going through somebody else and he's not getting the messages, or Hank's too busy, or, kind of a combination of all of those things. But I figured a couple months was long enough to wait for some basic information. I'm just going to go forth with this, just going off of the information that I got from Tony at the show. So I got to meet Tony in person at the New York Custom Knife Show back in November of 2013, and this knife was sitting on his table. Now, I'd already gone on my buying binge. I had bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I was there with a couple of really close friends of mine, and I saw this sitting on the table, and I couldn't believe it was still there, and I wanted it, and I had to have it. And my buddy's like, dude, you've already way overspent. You're done. Tell you what, I'm going to buy this thing, and I'm pretty sure I love it. But if I get to be too afraid to carry it because I'm afraid of hurting the finish, then I'm probably just going to sell it to you anyway. So that's exactly what happened. So my buddy Judd bought it. He carried it very lightly, and there's not a single mark on it. And he called me up about 2.5, 3 months ago and said, hey, if you still want that D.O.C., I'm gonna sell it. So I bought it from him on the spot. And he was awesome. He gave it to me for the same price that he bought it from Tony at the table. This is why this knife was so special to me. This utterly insane blade. Now, this is not obviously a standard production Microtech D.O.C. What this is the Tony Marfione custom D.O.C. And he does a lot of different flavors. He's got a great stonewash blade. He's got the black DLC blade. He's got the new cracked ice finish blades. And he, of course, does his mirror polish. And I've always wanted a model from him in one of his full mirror polishes. And, the prices can really, really get extreme. And I didn't realize how big the difference in price was. And before I get too much into the knife, let me talk about that for 1 second. This is a knife that the least expensive I've seen it sell for in a similar fashion was $1,500, and they generally float right around $2,000. It was direct from Tony for $1,150. So you see, there's a really big difference between buying from him directly and through even an authorized dealer. Now, we're used to seeing, prices being different from maker price. That's just the way it's going to be. But there really is a big, big difference in the Marfione Customs. I got a great deal. I'm very, very happy with it. Let me show you the packaging real quick. This is how it comes in the standard cardboard box, and it will say D.O.C. Manual Nightmare Hand Ground. Bronzed high polish, 30,000 layer carbon fiber handle, and heat colored hardware. Now, since this was a collaboration between Tony Marfione and Mick Strider, the D.O.C. model, we had Tony sign it, and then I convinced my buddy to take the box over to Mick, because Mick had just shown up at the show the day before, and asked him to sign it as well. Just to kind of have something nice. So it's a nice little addition, makes it a little bit more collectible, I guess. Now realize that the only thing that Mick really has into this collaboration is the shape of the handle. That's it. The blade shape, all that stuff, that was all Microtech, Marfione, all the hardware, the operation, the assembly, the builds, everything done by them. When it comes to the way this one was ground, this is the Nightmare grind, very similar to what Mick Strider would have done. And the only ones I've seen where Mick actually did customs, he did the kill switches, which was the dual action where it was manual or automatic with that kill switch on there. And then he did some really aggressive Nightmare grinds on those and sold those directly. So there's been a few different flavors of this. Now, this particular one, done in the carbon fiber with the mirrored bronze Nightmare, there were only 3 of these made at the time that I got it. Tony had 2 at the table during the weekend that I saw, and I know 1 went to Blade HQ. Blade HQ sold theirs for, I want to say 14 or 1500, one of the two. So here's the deal with the D.O.C. You've got a 3.75-inch blade. Overall, it's about 9 inches. This thing weighs about 5 ounces. Now, that kind of sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's a big knife with a really big blade on there. It weighs almost nothing when you've got it in the hands. That carbon fiber is incredible. It is really super crazy lightweight, as is the backspacer. And I love the way that he's done this backspacer, where it kind of incorporates that color scheme of the black and the bronze running through it. Same thing with the pocket clip too. It's obviously the black DLC out on the outside, and then around the edges they've done the bronze. Very slick, very cool. Great color combination all the way around. You'll see that again on the subframe lock and the lock bar insert. All the hardware is done in a rich, deep bronze to contrast the carbon fiber. Now, I think my white balance is getting a little bit goofy here because of the color of the bronze. So everything's kind of turning I don't know, an odd color. But the carbon fiber is truly deep, rich black like it should be. There's no tint or hue to it, even though that may be what you're seeing on your screen. At least that's what I'm seeing through my my viewfinder here. And the blade is absolutely magnificent. So you've got the satin finish on the flats. You have the milled pattern that's done in the cutaway, the recesses of the blade, I should say. Your blade stop there is a custom-made blade stop. Those are not thumb studs. You will never deploy a D.O.C. with the thumb studs. It's almost completely impossible unless you're Superman. And there is that incredible mirror polish that's done on the 2 grinds and on the top swedge. It is ridiculously sharp, as you guys know, that if you've handled any of the Marfione customs, they are laser sharp. Just fantastic. Great cutting knife. I have actually cut a few things with this. I haven't done anything heavy with it yet because I knew I hadn't done the video. I've already done the photography, but I hadn't done any video yet on this. And I try to keep, I try to video my knives before they get carried or used, but I was just waiting too long, so I've been, carrying this thing all the time, and the most that this thing has really cut so far is paper, envelopes, and shit like that, so nothing major. Having owned a production D.O.C., I can say that this is tremendously lighter in weight, easier to carry. The action is 10 times better once you get past that detent there. It is wonderfully smooth. The D.O.C. production piece that I had a first production that had the L-Max, and it really had a good, fast flipping open, but it wasn't smooth at all. This one is really, really nice and smooth. Marfione is using Microtech's proprietary bearing system inside. You'll see also the bronzed titanium stops that are built into the frame so that your blade stop isn't just slamming into carbon fiber. It is actually hitting a much harder surface there. And those are built down, inside, and around the pivot so that it's all fully supported. I know a lot of you are wondering about the clip. Yes, it doesn't have the FU clip. If you don't know what that means, go back and watch my original D.O.C. R-rated review. It's not quite as obtrusive as the FU clip. It's the same basic design, but it's not kicked up quite as high, and the edges have been rounded off. So this one, when you are holding it, and you see I am gripping it, it's not really as bad. You see it leaves a little teeny tiny little mark, and that's about it. If you watch the video for my production D.O.C., you saw it actually cut into the hand really, really poorly. So let's talk about the finish of this blade, because that really is the biggest deal about this knife. What Tony's done here is he is introducing a new DLC coating into the knife world that was developed for NASCAR racing engines. It's called Cassidium. So it's going to be done in the same kind of PVD process that DLC is done in, but I think he does it only in black and in bronze. And I have talked about this as well in the guest blade video where I brought out the 2 mini matrix models. But this is a process that was developed by a company called Anatech Limited. And they specifically designed it for the internal parts on NASCAR racing engines. Because what it does is it reduces surface wear. It reduces friction. And what they're claiming is that it reduces friction by at least 70% versus a non-coated metal part. Now that's a huge, huge, huge claim to make. And obviously it's working because not only is NASCAR relying on it, pretty much every engine builder is using that technology on their wrist pins and other internal parts, but guys that are building Hayabusa racing engines are also using the Cassidium process as well. So it's obviously a claim that has proven itself to be true. So some of the big benefits is it provides lubricity, so you don't really have to worry about lubricating any parts that are coated in the Cassidium. So maybe you're building some sort of machine and you have parts that are really deep down inside that machine that require a lot of disassembly to get into and do maintenance. This is probably a coating that you might want to consider for those parts so that you don't have to do any maintenance, you don't have to do any lubrication. It is completely anti-corrosive. It is an anti-galling agent, and again, it reduces that friction. Now, the other cool thing, and where it comes into play for knives, at least for the makers anyway, the people that are carrying us, we don't really care about this part. But if you're making a knife, one of the things that you have to deal with is once you've made the knife and then you coat your parts, let's say you're doing a Cerakote or a DLC, you're adding thickness to any component that you do the coating with. And that changes your tolerances. Now, maybe your lock face is going to be a little bit different. Maybe the tolerances between your bearings and your pockets and the blade are going to be an issue. You don't have that issue with the Cassidium because it's only 2 microns thick. Yet it's still able to provide a great deal of wear and scratch resistance that even a standard DLC can't do. So you've got no change in the tolerances. You build the knife, then you do the coating, and then you put it back together, and everything's going to work the exact same. Now you'll notice the blade just dropped down on me, and just by barely tapping me, it's already drawing blood. So yeah, it is it is incredibly sharp. That was just my mistake for not getting my thumb out of the way. We've all done that. Don't give me no shit about it. I see you back there laughing. Fuck you. Alright, so let's get some nice close-up views of the knife. So there is the recess in which the pocket clip rests. Some people like this clip, some people don't as far as its position. I love it. I don't like deep carry pocket clips. Yes, I understand that this much of the knife is sticking out of your pocket. Who gives a shit? Most of us aren't tucking our shirts in anyway, so nobody's going to see it. And if you're like me, you typically have a lanyard on most of your knives. Well, there's your telltale sign anyway. But what I like is I have something to grab onto. I can either grab it with my hand as I'm reaching in and my finger's already in position on the flipper tab, or if I'm just slowly taking it out, like, not in an emergency situation, and I'm just kind of tugging on it and I can pull it out without risk of dropping it. I like that. I don't like to have to grab the clip, which really makes you squeeze down on it and applies more pressure on the pocket, makes it harder to get out. That's why I hate deep carry pocket clips. Listen, buddy, you're not a super secret spy. You don't need to have everything, ooh, deep concealment. Who gives a shit? It's a perfectly legal thing to carry. So who cares if the pocket clip is sticking out? And at some point, unless you're carrying a Graham or something, you have a pocket clip sticking out, clipped to your pocket anyway. People know what it is. They know you're not carrying around a big old fancy pen in your side pocket. It's just not going to happen. So whether it's deep carry or not, you still got a clip hanging out on the outside of your pants that people see and go, "Durr, he's carrying a pocket knife." So get over the fucking deep carry pocket clips. They're absolutely insane. Alright, so there is the way it's recessed into the carbon fiber frame. There is the proprietary tri-wing hardware going all the way around. Yes, being proprietary, it does make it kind of a bitch if you want to service your own knife. And on a manual knife like this, you do want to be able to take apart your knife and clean things out. So yeah, you got to spend the money to get one of the Microtech tri-wing tools. Not the worst thing in the world, but I like the fact that it's all custom. Even on their production knives, you're getting that, and it looks custom. It looks like, you know, you should have spent a lot of money on it. There is the subframe lock. Now, obviously, the frame is all carbon fiber, and this is not. This is titanium, so you can't have a true frame lock because you can't make that out of carbon fiber. So they're attaching that lock inside, and the entire lock assembly can be replaced. It's, you know, it's a lot like what Todd Begg does on the bodegas. And there are a few brands, a few companies that do this, and it's a really ingenious idea. It's a wearable part that can be wholly replaced instead of now having to remake an entire side of a knife. You've also got the replaceable lock face right there. That is going to be a steel lock bar insert. Steel engaging steel. Now again, with the anti-galling properties of the Cassidium, you wouldn't really have to worry about titanium against steel or mixed metals, but it's still steel on steel. Less wear is going to be evident there. There is the custom pivot, the custom blade stop, as you see. Big giant blade stop, nice jipping along the back side of the blade. And I love the custom back spacer that's being used here. It looks fantastic. Jimping across the back, all the raised areas done in that rich bronze. You'd have a small area to attach a lanyard if you want to. You would have to devein 550 paracord to make it fit through there, just so you're aware. And I even like this. Nice little cutout in the back spacer, making room for the blade. Even though they didn't really need to, it's just a nice added touch. Blade is mostly centered. It's off to the left just a teeny tiny little bit, but there's been no rubbing and no issues. Love the action on this. Nice strong detent, and that's why I say you're never going to open that by the blade stop. They do put divots in here to make it where you could use it as a thumb stud, but you're really not going to be able to do that. So that's the overall look of it. I love the balance. I love the feel. I love how it feels in the hand. Great size. Some people don't get the D.O.C. because it has such a short cutting edge for such a large blade and such a large knife. I don't care. This thing, every time I pull it out, when it's around knife people or non-knife people, everybody loves it. I mean, everybody. They're enamored with the beauty of that mirror polished bronze blade because nobody's ever really seen anything like that. The guys that really know knives, they love the feel of it. They love the flipping action. They love the overall fit and finish and quality feel of the build of the knife. The action is, like I said, just fantastic. I mean, it's not silky smooth, okay? Don't get the wrong impression. This isn't like opening up something that's just going to have that glass-like smoothness. This really is a high-profile tactical knife. So it doesn't have quite the same finesse, but it doesn't need to because that's not what you're really buying it for. It looks like, I don't know, a tool of homicide. I mean, it just looks dangerous. It looks like it's made to do nothing but tear through flesh, not really to cut rope and cardboard boxes. It really looks less like a tool and more like a weapon. And that's really what I think Microtech does so well. They bring a little bit of artistry into what I feel are weapons, you know, period. These are self-defense tools. I can't really think of very many Microtechs over the years that I would consider that to be a tool. Like you can look at a Stout or a Holback or a Direware and go, that's more of a tool. It's big, it's overbuilt, it's tough, it's got, you know. This is really more of a self-defense weapon, in my opinion. And you can choose to agree or disagree. That's fine. But that's just the way I've always felt about these knives. And that really goes for Strider as well. Strider, while they do make some great tool knives, I don't want to kind of give a blanket statement. You look especially at their fixed blades. But really, everything is done with a tactical frame of mind. I just can't get over that blade. Look at the beauty of that friggin' blade. Every time I open this, I'm in awe. And I've had this thing for a couple of months. It never seems to get old. Great grind. I know it says hand ground on the box. The more I look at it, it really looks like a machine ground blade. I mean, it just does. It's too perfect. The symmetry is 100% dead on. As crisp and clean as everything is done, it just doesn't look like a hand grind to me. And everything, you know, everything's up to interpretation. But it says hand ground on the box, so that's what we go with. I have no reason to, to argue that, but it looks too perfect. Anyway, guys, I'm going to cut it off there at that. Sorry it took so long to get this uploaded. I've had a lot of people on Instagram yelling at me for not getting the video done because they see me carry it all the time. They're like, we want to see it. We want to see it in HD. We want to hear about it. So here it is finally. I apologize that it took so long. Thank you guys for being patient. A lot of crazy stuff going on. A lot of you may know from following my Instagram that my Stan Wilson non-flipper flipper arrived. I will be doing a video on that very soon. It's just that I'm working with Stan right now to get some more information. He's taking some pictures and stuff for me of the internals because I sure as hell ain't going to take it apart. And I'm going to break down how the knife actually operates and what's so revolutionary about that knife. The next Diamond Gym live knives show is going to be on May 16th. Mark your calendar, 9 p.m. Eastern, Friday night on the 16th. Got a whole bunch of crazy, stupid shit coming up. It should be a really big show. A couple of makers had to drop out because they're too inundated with work trying to make knives for the Blade show. But I do have most of the same guys from the first show, and I've added more. Some really cool, exciting stuff. So definitely tune in for that. I'll give you some more updates on my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. It's at Jim Skelton TV. Super easy to find. And you can hit the Diamond Gyms Facebook page, and it's just Diamond Gyms Live Knives Project on Facebook. Go like it. I do all my updates there, and you get to see what's going on. All right, guys, I'm out of here for now. I'll catch you on the next video.